So, Coach, to have two wide receivers drafted high by a defending division champion, what did that mean to you all in terms of happy for them, but obviously proud of what it means and what it says about the program and the way you guys are developing these guys?
Yeah, I think everything these guys have coming to them is something that they've definitely earned. I was just able to have a front row seat to it. The way these two guys carried themselves day in, day out like they are, and you guys will learn they're true pros before they even got to the NFL and got drafted. So super excited for both those guys. I mean, it's unbelievable that they got drafted to the same team and get to go at this thing together. So I'm really excited for both of them.
Did you have interactions with the NFL teams during the process and the Texans at all, or is it more so like your pro coordinator would do that, or did you go to the pro day and kind of just check it out?
Yeah, so during the season, I had a lot of interactions with scouts. I mean, every single week there was plenty of scouts to see them practice and work out, and that was probably the most interaction I had with NFL teams. And then, a few teams called leading up to the combine and the draft. And, I was at the pro day with them and kind of went through their scripted routes and all that stuff. So, that was probably it.
That's awesome. Yeah. With Jaden and Nick Casario was talking about how he wanted to play at a higher level. He wanted to transfer up from Eastern Kentucky. So it was important to him to compete at the highest level and be in the Big 12 and all of that. In terms of his, contested catches and what it takes, because a lot of people talk about in basketball, people that play defense, people that rebound, it's not just being able to jump high and being physical. It's wanting the ball, like wanting to defeat the opponent. I think a lot of it is mentality. What's his mentality like as far as going up and getting it?
Yeah, he's one of the best I've been around. And, everyone knows playing receiver, you got to have a little bit of confidence to you. And both those guys, Jaden and Jaylin, it's not a cockiness. It's a confidence within their abilities and what they do. And I think that's why he had so much success, because week in and week out, like, both those guys knew we were going to try to put them in the best position possible to make a bunch of plays. And they consistently showed us that they could do it against a multitude of coverages. And Jaden has this mindset where whether he's playing the slot, playing outside, that he's going to find a way to get open and go make the play, and he consistently did that for us.
Yeah, they even compared him to Nico Collins. So now they have two 6'4" wide receivers that are over 215 pounds and can run fast and jump very high and want the ball. But I think it's kind of a matchup nightmare.
Yeah, I think it definitely will be, and I think the flexibility in both those guys to be able to move those guys around, it's an exciting thing for a quarterback and a coach, and to have that type of versatility in your room, especially with big body receivers.
So he has a basketball background. Have you ever seen him play any basketball?
No, I know those guys. Jaden and Jaylin always go back and forth at each other, who's the better hooper and better shooter. Now, I know Jaden's more of the slasher, dunk around the rim type guy and get to the rim, and Jaylen's more the sharp shooter from the perimeter. So just like their football games, they got different skill sets they both excel at.
When he went 34th, you weren't surprised. It seemed like, I know that maybe the press didn't have as much, or the draft analysts, on him. They were always talking about, just whatever, for whatever reason, maybe like a Luther Bird and Matt Golden and some other receivers, but he aced all of the draft process and he had all of the stats. I mean, he was, if you look even not carefully, but if you just look at all, you would see like, okay, well, he stacks up just as well, and he's actually bigger than these guys too. He's the biggest receiver, and all of his stats and, physical specs, all of that checks all boxes. But when he went 34th, were you thinking, this is where I think he could go early in the second round? Or were you guys even thinking maybe first round?
Yeah, you hear a multitude of things, and you never really know with, to be honest, with what you hear in the media and what to believe, on the internet and all that stuff of where guys will get drafted. I just knew he was going to be a high-end pick, and whatever team that got him was going to be extremely pleased because of obviously what he brings on the football field, but just how he carries himself off the field and how he prepares himself week in and week out, and how he always plays and does everything with a chip on his shoulder of, like we talked about earlier, wanting to play at the highest level. Like, he just keeps pushing himself and trying to prove others. So I think where he ended up is a perfect spot. I think it's going to be a great fit for him, and I'm excited to see what he does within that offense.
Jaylin Noel was one of the fastest and highest jumping wide receivers at the combine, and he also was a great special teams player for you guys, did really everything, and he had similar production. You have a couple of 1,000-yard receivers. What do they get with Jaylin? I feel like he's sort of that. I know that slot is probably a lot of people say, but I think he could probably line up anywhere.
Yeah. First off, I've said this to everybody that's asked. He's the best leader and the most competitive kid I've been around since I've been coaching, and you're going to get a kid that's going to do everything in his power to help the team win. And both those guys are the exact same way. Like, whether it's special teams, playing inside receiver, playing outside receiver, having a guy go in and block or run down on punts or whatever it may be, he's going to do whatever he can. He's going to go and try to earn a spot in whatever role that may be. And he's an unbelievable person. He's going to be a leader of that rookie class some way, somehow. He'll find his role, and he'll be a sponge to the vets, and everyone around that building will love having him around and what he brings to the organization.
Where did you normally line him up?
We lined him up everywhere. Most of his stuff, if we were in our 12 and 21 personnel stuff, he was outside for us. If we're in 11 personnel, he was inside. There'd be times where we would start him in the backfield, motion him into the backfield. Like, we just did everything because he has such a high football IQ that he could handle all that stuff within the game plan. We put a lot on his plate, and we learned that this spring. Like, he was different than a lot of guys that just because we could do so much with him, and trying to find other guys to be able to do as much as he did is hard to find because of how he prepared and what his football IQ was.
Yeah, he comes from Kansas City, which I think is underrated from a high school football standpoint, because a lot of good football players do come from that area. It seems like just kind of a hotbed for football. I know, obviously, here in Texas, we see, like, we had 4 guys from the Houston area go in the first round, but that's like pretty much a norm just for what Texas high school football is like. But, yeah, these Kansas City guys are good, and, yeah, I think he kind of typifies that.
Yeah, he'll tell you it's the best football in the country. I mean, that's just how biased he is, and he's loyal to his hometown. And,
yeah.
No, we've done a good job of getting kids from that area, and he came in, and right from the jump as a true freshman, he came in and found a way on the field, and just continued to grow and develop, and took advantage of every opportunity he had.
Nick Cassera said that after he picked him, unsolicited teams were texting him and saying this was one of the best 30 visits they had. Just like when he came in, they loved the personality. I think Texans sort of hid a little bit their interest, which is smart. Sometimes you don't want the other teams to know, because then when it's very obvious and you fly them in, and these get out there, guys like myself sometimes find out about visits. And it's okay. It doesn't mean they're going to draft a player. It's kind of like, okay, well, it's just information. Did he visit? Did he meet at the combine? All of these things is pieces of information, and they mean something or they don't. They don't necessarily always do. They drafted some guys that visited, but to hear that from teams, or hear that about that teams really just liked your player and kind of the way he handles himself with the professionalism, I think it really speaks to the program and to the person. What did people say when they'd met him? If they would talk to you afterward, as far as just like what they thought of him.
Just an unbelievable human being, high character kid. I mean, he has a, he didn't always have the easiest upbringing, and a lot of people could go the other way, but he put his head down and knew that he was going to make the most of his opportunities and his athletic abilities to make sure that he took care of his mom and his family and his grandma and sister and brothers, and he's done that, and he'll never stop doing that for those guys, because that's just the mentality he has. And he's a guy that I could call at any time, and he would do anything for myself, Coach Campbell, anyone on this team. That's just the kind of person he is.
That's awesome. The vertical, and I know that he is not as tall as Jaden, but it seems like the 41 and a half, the 11-2 broad jump, that would kind of make up for it. And I saw that he liked to lift weights a lot. I mean, 23 reps is better than some of the linemen. That's pretty impressive strength. So that just shows me they had a lot of dedication to the gym, and obviously naturally strong too. But This is a heck of an athlete. I mean, it feels like almost like he's very underrated and flew under this radar. I don't know why, but maybe just because Iowa State's in the middle of the country. I'm not sure, but I mean, if he's in New York or Miami or LA or one of these other big cities, maybe people would know more about him. But now they're going to know a lot about him because of him being in the NFL. But yeah, it just feels like he flew under the radar.
Yeah, he did, and I think that's kind of how kids at Iowa State honestly do. They fly under the radar, and we've had a good track record of getting guys to the NFL and guys that aren't only just in the NFL but playing at a really high level. And I think both these guys will do the same with the Texans, and they're masters at their craft. They're masters at the process. It all matters to them. From the time they wake up to the time they go to bed, they're trying to get better. And, Jaylin was pound for pound the strongest kid in our team. So it surprised no one that he benched 23 reps and jumped this and jumped that. And it's all, like I said, to start this. It's everything they've earned. Those guys had a goal in mind, and this is what they wanted to do, and they crushed it.
Did they have nicknames within the program?
No, nothing that's
nothing interesting like Jay or Jaylen and all that stuff.
No, I mean, one Jaylin goes by Jay Noel or Jay No, Jay Higgs, J5. Like, it's just nothing like crazy.
Gotcha. Were they roommates?
So they weren't ever roommates. I know that was something that was out there, but they do everything together.
Okay, they hang together. Gotcha.
They're in the building all the time. They actually had you'll probably find this out, but they actually have a YouTube fishing channel together. They did.
That's cool.
They both are big into fishing, so I think it was after the 23 season, all summer long, they'd fish all over the place, and that was kind of what they did in their free time. And Jaylin loves the golf. I think he was getting Jaden into golfing as well, but they ended up making a J&J fishing. That's what it was called.
I just Googled this. This is on TikTok, too. People were talking about J-Dog gone fishing, local fishing celebrity. And it's popular.
So they're passionate about it.
It's a good hobby. It's pretty
your
safe.
Name's Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, a safe, clean hobby, and
exactly.
It's better than playing video games or whatever else. Yeah, you're outside, it's active. Whenever I hear about players' hobbies, I'm like, okay, if they say it's outdoors, I'm like, that's better.
Yeah, and it was another thing they could compete at. I mean, they always come back and send pictures to the receiver group message about who caught the bigger fish that day or how many they caught. So it was always entertaining.
Did you ever get out on a boat with them or on the dock?
No, I never did.
Not your thing. Gotcha.
No.
Yep. Oh, man. This is got to be a proud moment. I know you coach Christian Watson, who also has done really well with the Packers. So this is another experience for you, and it's got to almost be like a dad proud of his sons. They've graduated, and they graduated to the NFL.
Yeah, man, it's really cool. And all three of those guys, with Christian included, like, the best part is really close to my family, and these guys are the same as well. Like, my daughters are their three biggest fans. Like, my daughters were the flower girls in Christian's wedding, and like
nice.
The way they treated my family and my wife, and they're family for sure. And they got a family full of Houston Texans fans now.
That's incredible. Well, hey, the guys will do the most as far as like raising awareness, but there's been some real praise from a respected general manager and Nick. It's not the first time. Obviously, Brock Purdy and other players, not the first guy from Iowa State to go to the NFL, but this is just sort of recent and prominent. But I would imagine when you're texting and making calls, it's got to be a positive.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely is. It definitely is, and it's exciting that these guys are to this spot, and what they've done for Iowa State, and I told them, those guys, all the time, like, hey, you guys have changed the trajectory of Iowa State, one football, but Iowa State wide receivers and what we can do here, just because of the way they worked and the groundwork they laid.
Yep, got me fired up to cover these guys. I'm excited. We did a Zoom with both of them. They did great, and look forward to meeting them, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. Just a continuation of what we have with Xavier Hutchinson, and now these guys pick up the torch, and hopefully they just continue what they were doing, which you would think, succeeding that well at the big college level and checking all these boxes. Yeah, it would seem like NFL, they'll have a good transition, and I know they'll work hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they will too, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for both those guys in that organization.